Hey everybody, welcome back to whatever it is I'm calling this. I still gotta figure out the light situation. Let's take a look. Okay, that'll have to do for now. So, what are we looking at today? Well, we're looking at Dan Clowes before Monica, before Eightball, before Lloyd Llewellyn, and even before his work on Cracked magazine, although that is what this is most related to. This is the second issue of Psycho Comics, produced by primarily by Clowes and Mort Todd, who was his editor at Cracked magazine. Um, I guess there's going to be clowns in almost all these videos. I didn't realize how many clowns were in my comic book collection, but cool stuff. This is magazine size. This is a big boy comic book, and I paid. I don't want to say how much I paid for this, but I paid pretty good money for this. This is not an easy thing to find, but I'm excited to look at it with all of you. So this cover, there's a few elements that look kind of like the mature Dan Clowes. I would say, the lettering, you have this rip on the Timely Atlas Golden Age Marvels lettering in the corner there. Playing around with lettering, that's definitely an element of Clowes that later on, he becomes one of the great letterers in comics. He's not quite there yet. The Psycho here feels a little awkward. The comics feels, I don't know, yeah, it doesn't quite get to that later Clowes level, but for like a thing produced by some college students, this looks pretty nice. Huge EC influence here. This looks like it could have been drawn by Harvey Kurtzman. It has those big kind of, they're ink brush lines, but they almost have the texture at the ends of like charcoal. The shadowing on that nose and on the mouth, that's like every Kurtzman Two-Fisted Tales cover, basically. These figures in the middle, they're kind of stiff. There is some body language there, but the eyes on these figures don't really look like later Clowes. But that's what we're here for. So yeah, so Clowes is listed as the editor. We have a few pretty cool um, contributors here, probably fellow Pratt students. Um, and the big names here would be Clowes, Rick Altergott, Mort Todd, and the rest of these guys. They might have done stuff in comics later, but if they did, I haven't seen it or heard about it. But yeah, let's go take a look at the Clowes stuff. Pretty sure this doesn't look like Clowes. This has taken a lot of language from romance comics. I think being in, like, a thing I noticed when I was in New York City when I was in college is that, maybe just because of the giant size of the population, when you go to flea markets and stuff, you'll run into a lot more like 40s and 50s kind of like, not junky comics, but like that was the place where I first saw a decent amount of like romance comics, reprints of EC stuff, those Harvey humor comics, which I think had a pretty big influence on Clowes. Like if you look at an old little Red Hot comic, at least like the earlier Clowes where it's a bit more angular. Um, there's a lot of that Harvey thing, and there's even strips where he takes off on it. Um, so This is written by Eel O'Brien, who might, I don't know if that's a real person or a pseudonym for somebody who is working under a different name somewhere else. This is drawn by Mort Todd, and I feel like I haven't seen a lot of things drawn by Mort Todd, but this looks pretty nice. I like this. I'll take it. And you know, kind of some nice brushwork. Not quite mature work, but there's a lot to like here. Altergot, he's not quite there. There's this huge Mad Magazine Mort Drucker influence here, like that face. Like the face on the guy looks like it's straight out of a Mad Magazine um, parody of a movie, like those ones that are always at the beginning of the movie. This is kind of an odd, stiff figure. Like, I get that she's supposed to be stiff, but if the arm was like resisting a little bit, I think it would look better. Like, it kind of looks like he's just holding the thing that goes on top of a wedding cake, that like little figurine. There's probably a name for that, but yeah, this looks strong. You have that weird, I don't know what the name of the font is, but it's the same font that they use in those old EC comics. It's like sort of a typewriter font, kind of. And he changes that up here. He's got like a handwritten font there. Some effective but pretty simple uses of duotone. You got these dot textures, and not getting super in depth with it, but it works and it helps balance the textures on the page. I'm going to skip ahead to the Clowes stuff. Gene Fama, this looks nice. If anybody knows any other Gene Fama comics, tell me about them or send them on over, because this, I like this. This is like Real Monsters plus Charles Burns. I could get into that. Okay, so it's a wider variety of contributors than I thought. I took a quick look at this, but this definitely, I have not read through this fully. And I think like a lot of, I'm sure it probably reads pretty well, but here we go. Here's what we came for. Early Dan Clowes, like this is maybe the earliest example of Dan Clowes that I've encountered. Certainly the earliest example of Dan Clowes artwork that I have in my personal collection. And yeah, like a lot of EC, there's like kind of a European, what is it? Igor kind of 5 is the perfect number texture to this. I don't know when that came out. I think it came out after this, but I think I've seen this kind of like the thin line with the big pools. I think I've seen that like Italian comics. Maybe we'll look at some Benelli comics in a bit. But simple 6-panel grid. Uh, you know, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. He varies up the panel compositions really nicely. You have these kind of weird, almost David Lynch reappropriations of 50s pop culture, like this guy smoking a cigarette with these kind of beach beauties surrounding him, and he looks kind of like a sullen James Dean. And he's thinking, being popular sure has its drawbacks. I just can't keep track of these chicks. It feels very kind of cynical, tongue-in-cheek Gen X, and that kind of prefigure. And also, I think just like the clothing these people are wearing looks like it's out of a '50s movie more than early 1980s New York for sure. Um, this fascination with the style and trash of the 50s and early 60s that has only really persisted in his work up to now. I think in the lettering, even the lettering kind of shifted away from that, but for a good long chunk of time, yeah, there's this current. It doesn't like overtake it. It's not like the main subject of the work, but it's the lens that Clowes maybe feels most comfortable going through. Um, and Yeah, it has. There's stuff from the later Clowes. It's not quite there yet. The lettering on this is far and away the best lettering I've seen in this book so far. Um, Here's another Mort Todd piece, and I think Mort Todd doesn't have he doesn't have the command of anatomy or perspective that Clowes does, or kind of like I mean the line work here is good. It also it has like kind of a different vein of EC in it. Like that panel looks very EC horror comic E, but his composition is on point. He varies it a lot. He varies the angles of the shots. That's a weird shot there. That's kind of a weird shot that maybe it wouldn't be as weird in a movie, but you very rarely see kind of a tilted over the shoulder shot in comics, because it's kind of hard to draw it and make it look right. Um, yeah, more solid early Mort Todd comics. Um, okay, you got some pencil texture here. I'm not entirely okay. Maybe there's some narrative reason. Anyway, this isn't that interesting. This just looks like student work. Um, I don't know, maybe it's got a good story, but I'll have to take a look at it later. This one, I don't see the signature anywhere, but this is unmistakably Rick Altergott, especially based on the earlier contribution in the magazine. You can tell from the lettering. You can tell like he kind of takes a lot more of the formal elements of the EC comics. You have this kind of very stilted mechanical lettering, but then like a really big um, title lettering thing that kind of like it pops a little bit more because of the uniformity, the other lettering. You don't have that tendency that comes in a lot of later kind of superhero comics editing, or I think Mad Magazine were the ones who started this, where you just kind of bold random words for. I mean, in theory, it's for emphasis. I think a lot of times it's just to vary the visual texture of the actual text. All right, and more, yeah. EC is the name of the game here. Um, let's see. Mimi goes psycho. This might be Clowes. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not sure why all of this isn't signed if they put it out themselves. I think this is Clowes. The lettering certainly looks like Clowes. And you have some of that like grotesquerie that he's so fascinated with in Ditko, like that face is sort of like a distorted Ditko face. Um, Playing around, and here's some that's so ridiculous. I think I mean that kind of looks like Eric's hand. That's like pretty deranged. That uh, there's just like a random bondage shot. It has a a letters page, and I kind of love the name of this letters page, for those who know how to read. Hot damn. And we keep going. This looks more like later Dan Clowes, like one of the styles that he later becomes proficient in is this sort of not very cartoony, not heavily detailed style. This is kind of the stuff that's more influenced by like Gene Deitch. Well, I don't know if he's actually influenced by Gene Deitch, but like it has that Gene Deitch quality of kind of cartoony, very shape focused. You could probably read this whole thing if it was in silhouette. And Clowes always takes that opportunity to have kind of like evil, impish, children looking people, and that's certainly what we have here. He's getting to play around with the lettering a bit more here. He's credited, as he is, on almost all of his early work, at least when he's lettering, as Chick Chumley. He used a lot of pseudonyms on random things when he was, or like early in his career, like everything up to the early 90s, I feel like. And yeah, you got some great kind of, instead of just using the typewriter symbols, he's doing clouds, he's doing little lightning bolts. That's a nice touch. And it's funny, yeah, like the most mature part of the art here is the lettering, which I mean is understandable. It's, the whole reason to buy this thing is that you get that early, and at the very end, like these last three panels look like they could have come from maybe like an early Lloyd Llewellyn. Comes with a little free magazine, Totally Intense Tales. Very tiny, a little superhero action thing, I'm sure, with a some kind of subversive twist to it. And it's 2 colors, so it's a little bit more involved, I guess, than the rest of the magazine, printing-wise. This looks pretty nice. Maybe I'll have to sit down and read this. The fact that it's like glued to the back of the comic book is a little bit annoying, and it's kind of weird that it has its own separate retail price on it. Like this is supposed to be 75 cents. The magazine itself is supposed to be $2.75. And I guess this was distributed by Seagate Distributors. I'm not familiar with them. It looks like they were in Brooklyn, so I don't know how much further beyond Brooklyn this book got. But anyway, hopefully that was as fun for you as it was for me. Was it good for you too? And stay tuned for more of this in the near future. So keep it real, and we'll reconvene shortly.